us. Oh, that looks like it's going to work well. Awesome. I think we've got lucky. We've got a small gap. And we can now see exactly what it's trying to do. And it's sticking its leg far up into that hole. And that was a Birchall starling that flew down and attacked it, so it's got a lot on the go there. It's trying its best to fish out whatever it can from that hole, but at the same time it's getting bombarded by these smaller birds. I can't believe how lucky we've got. The fact that we saw it attempting to hunt a little bit earlier, and now just minutes later we get to see it fully in the swing. It must know that there's something in there because it's persisting and is going to continue to try, I hope, until it actually manages to catch something. Shame, how terrifying must this be for the adults, who appear to be the red-billed hornbills, I'm guessing, which are the birds you can see in the frame now. They do nest in cavities and trees.
Why would the starling be helping if they're trying to get a hornbill baby out, if that's the case?
Yeah, Andrew's just asked a good question, and he's wondering why the starling's getting involved and risking any potential injury from this African harrier hawk if it's not necessarily its chicks. That's because they all band together, and certain birds like starlings are notorious for helping to police larger raptors like African harrier hawks, and they all band together and help one another. But it is just a show of their personality, I guess, and they are gutsy, brave birds that are often associated in mobbing ceremonies like this. It's often the starlings that are first on call to try and chase off these other prey animals, them and the fork-tailed drongo, which is the small black bird that we saw chasing off the other harrier hawk earlier. I've been looking for the other harrier hawk. There's no sign of it anymore. It is getting to its prey. Those legs are very long, and you'll notice when it sticks that leg up there, it goes a long way. And adapted for this kind of foraging, and they can double joint and twist and contort in order to be able to get as far into these cavities as possible, but also to not break. And here's the facial plumage changing again, a sign of its excitement. It's gone back to the pink coloration, and this is only something I've been able to show once before, how quickly their facial plumage can change. How awesome. Go ahead for Scots. Good morning, Craig. It's just myself here. You're more than welcome to join. On the southern side. Now, has he given up on that cavity? It is something that they will often have to weigh up. I guess they may very well know that there's something in there, but how much energy is it worth expending trying to get something out of a hole? It's taking these small breaks or breathers to rest, I guess, and it does keep going back to does seem to keep going back to the same cavity, although now it's almost broadening its horizons and looking for other holes, as it could well have realized. Oh, now let's see all of the birds chasing it. Well, it appears that whatever was in that initial cavity has got lucky. It must have been a horrifying start to the day, having these yellow talons clawing at whatever it was inside there. I'm guessing it was some baby red-billed hornbills. They got away luckily, and we still got to see a great show of how they attempt to catch their prey. I'm going to hang around just for a few more minutes though and see what it does next, as this is such a rare occurrence for us to be able to share this kind of a sighting with you. Just got a question through from Jerry in Maryland. Good morning, Jerry, and welcome. Jerry's interested to know if there's potentially a snake within the cavity of that tree. And, oh, a lilac-breasted roller is now getting involved in the attack. Look at this. Awesome. It's incredible how brave these smaller birds are. I guess they know that they're more acrobatic. Oh, that Birchall starling gave it a proper peck on the back of the head there. And as I was saying, the chance of there being a snake in the cavity of that tree is certainly there, but the way that the birds were mobbing the African harrier-hawk makes me feel that it was the birds that were the owner of whatever it was that's in that cavity. And it is mainly baby birds that they will seek out, these African harrier hawks. I'm sure if there was a snake or a lizard within the cavity, they would happily feed on it. But it is mainly younger birds that are nesting within the cavity of these trees that the African harrier hawks will seek out. It's now flown across to this marula tree, where it's probably trying to seek a bit of refuge from all of the birds that were alarm calling and mobbing it earlier, and it's probably having a break. It would have been tiring work clambering on the tree as well as digging. Although I'm tempted to just go and have one last look at it and see what it does next, because again it is abnormal for us to have such great visuals of these birds. And it's just landed up ahead of us in a marula tree. We'll let it investigate this marula tree for any more potential cavities, and if it manages to find one, then we'll hang around. If not, we'll move off. It's just on the other side of the tree now. Just got a question through from Virginia. Good morning, Virginia, and welcome. Virginia's interested to know why this hawk wouldn't try and attack the adults that were busy mobbing it, the adult birds. And it's simply because they are harder to catch than a young and defenseless chick that's sitting in the cavity of the nest. And the African harrier hawk is not a very swift bird of prey, and it is highly adapted and specialized to pluck prey out of these cavities with their long double-jointed legs. It would be too difficult for that African harrier hawk to latch onto prey that's just flying around and that's fully grown, like the birds that were mobbing it. It's simply going to be too slow. If it could, it certainly would, but it's not designed to feed on large and fully fledged birds. It's mainly the chicks that are helpless and defenseless, and their main form of protection is their nest, which this specific bird has evolved to be able to get into. And that fork-tailed drongo just followed it off there and gave it a few more unceremonial pecks on the back of the head as it flew off. Chris in South Australia, good morning. Chris is interested to know whether this bird of prey, the African harrier hawk, is a migratory bird or whether it's here year-round. And thankfully it's one of our common residents, so it's here throughout the year. And any of the migratory birds that are still around at this time of the year won't be here for much longer. They typically would have all moved off by now. We'll have one quick glimpse of the lion just to show you their current state. And that's the young male there, fast asleep on the road. The rest of the pride are lying up in the thicker vegetation to the left of the road, also fast asleep. So I've been keeping an eye on them whilst we got spoilt with the great bird sighting. And I love it when the lion get upstaged by a lesser well-known character out here. And this morning it was the African harrier hawk that outperformed the lion. So we'll leave them to it. And like I say, good prospects for later on this morning or certainly this afternoon. But I feel that we can have more fun elsewhere this morning, so we're going to head off up towards Buffelshoek Dam and see if we don't have any luck relocating on Karula. In the road here, it's the yellow-billed hornbill. Now, very easy to distinguish between the two. One's got a bright yellow beak, which you can see in front of us, and the other's got a red beak. The red-billed hornbills that we saw earlier, you may have noticed, are a little bit smaller. Dung on the ground, and it's a big old buffalo dung that it's opened up with its beak and then proceeded to feed on some of the decomposers that are breaking down that dung, some beetles and insects. They've got a wide diet, these hornbills. They'll feed on small rodents, chameleons, up to tiny little ants and termites, which it looks to be feeding on now. You can see the succession at which it's throwing them into its mouth. It means there must be a lot of them. And its mate has come to join in on the feeding activity as well. And it could very well be a breeding pair. They are monogamous, these birds. Oh, that one just regurgitated a seed or a stone, which you would have noticed. And they will keep small seeds and stones in their crop to help maul and digest any food that they do feed on. I guess you could kind of equate it to being like putting a small rock in your washing machine to help pound your clothes clean. They've got these small little rocks that are in their crop that will help grind up and break up. They're so small that you can't see very clearly. Tiny little termites. Are you going to be able to get to them there, Andrew?
Negative.
I'm just going to try and reposition ever so slightly to try and show you. There we go. Now, as Andrew zooms in here, you'll notice some tiny, tiny little termites moving around in that soil. And that's what the hornbill's feeding on. And you can see quite clearly where it's ruffled up. I'm actually just going to get out to show you this. Where it's ruffled up where the old buffalo dung was lying in order to expose the termites. So this is the buffalo dung that the termites have been feeding on, and it was lying here before the bird moved it away, and now it's exposing these termites that have been breaking down the dung. So a great opportunity to see how the nutrient cycle flows from a large animal like even a buffalo, where it's deposited, it's grassy dropping on the road here. The termites have then come in and started doing their job, breaking down the dung to recycle it back into the earth. But now they've been stopped by a hornbill which has intercepted the termites and started feeding on them. And they too will be therefore deposited back into the earth in the form of a bird dropping later on today. And we'll now continue and leave those termites to try and resolve their housing problem now that the hornbill has broken their house. I'm sure the hornbill is going to fly back and continue to feed on that larder of termites. They're very high in protein, termites. Now, I'm interested to see, we were talking about the rains and some rain that we've experienced in the last week or so, having not had rain for months. And I'm interested to see what other effects it's had. We've just been chatting about it having a great effect already on the vegetation. We can notice a green carpet now of what was before brown and dead grass. So it's certainly helping the vegetation, but what other animals could we expect to see change or ongoings could we expect? And insects are often brought out with rains, so we can expect to see a few more insects out. I haven't been around for the last week, so since it rained, so I'm not exactly sure what effects it has had, but I'm almost certain there'll be a few more insects moving about, dung beetles, which Brent and Mark told me are still around in full force. It just depends on where you are. And because these rains that we are experiencing are quite late in the season, I don't expect it to have huge impacts on the insect life as it does in the summertime. In the summer, after every rain, we get huge increases in both amphibian life as well as insect life. But most of the insects and amphibians have already done their business this summer during the rainy season and are now in all likelihood in a state of dormancy. The signal on driving along now can sometimes be a little bit shaky, so it's just a warning in advance. If the signal does get a little bit wobbly, don't go anywhere. We'll pop out near Buffelshoek Dam shortly, where the signal will be much better, so don't be alarmed. Go ahead for Scots. Sorry, Craig. Go again with that, please. Copy, thanks very much. Just keep me updated. I'm a little bit fast now. Thank you very much. Okay, now we've got decisions to make. Just got a message from Craig saying that there are some adult buffalo bulls heading towards the lion, and the lion have seen them. Now, I've seen this kind of event unfold before, and it can take a little bit of time for anything to happen, if anything does even happen. But as you can see, I'm turning around and we are heading there. So, as we predicted, there's a strong chance that prey will arrive at the dam, and thankfully Craig was there to inform us. So we're going to get back there. Like I say, it could take hours before lions even attempt to attack the buffalo, or they may not even attempt to do so. I've changed my mind, I'm coming back. See you shortly. because if something does happen, we obviously don't want to miss it. But what I will warn you in advance is that it could well be that we wait a long time for anything to happen. Once the lion assess the situation, they may decide not to attack for quite some time, and this is very similar behavior to what we would have seen last time with the lions hunting buffalo, the same lions hunting buffalo at this very same dam. They are very large and dangerous prey to take down, and the lions will be cautious of that. Either way, we couldn't ask for better prospects. Lions hunting buffalo is one of the ultimate showdowns you could witness out here, and it's often the buffalo that get away, and they can often also leave the lion with injuries. So it's dangerous business and exciting business, and we're hopefully going to be involved in it very shortly. Well, let me maybe reiterate that. Not involved, simply allowed to watch what's going on. We'll in no way involve ourselves in the hunt, but we are simply going to be there as spectators. We'll be there in about a minute or two, so just a little bit more shaking around until we get there. Those lions heard us earlier saying that the African Harrier hawk upstaged them, and now they are going to try and redeem themselves by showing us how they too can also hunt. Okay, there's a lot of buffalo around. Interesting stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to stop here for a moment or two just to give you guys an idea of exactly the scenario we are in. As you can see, there are some buffalo at the water's edge, and it's to our left that the lion would be approaching from. There's more buffalo coming down to the dam, and to our left, within this thicker vegetation ahead of us, is where we could expect the lions to be appearing from. That is where we left them lying down, and Craig said they are slowly making their way towards us, or towards the buffalo rather. I can hear a tree squirrel. Alarm calling, which indicates to us that the lion are coming closer. I can also hear a Franklin alarm calling now. So lots of potential prey. You can see all these buffalo, but what it also means for the lion is that it's lots of defense for the actual buffalo. Now they've got lots of friends that are now going to try and protect one another, and if the lion were lucky enough to bring down a buffalo, there's lots of extra buffalo around who can then come and try and chase the lion away. Just wanting to establish where these lions are, and also show you guys exactly where they are so we know exactly what's going on here. It could well be that the lion are fast asleep again, but they have come closer, and they are just on our left here. That was the Franklin that was alarm calling at them. You wouldn't believe it, folks, but we've just got a call from the final control room saying that they've got monkeys alarm calling very insistently very close to the control room, which means that there could be a leopard there. Now, as you can see, the lion are not very close to the buffalo at the moment, and they are asleep, and the final control room is very close to us. So I'm just can't find the leopard. There's some monkeys alarm calling around Yuri's house, so we are going to check up there quickly. So like I said, we don't want to miss anything with the buffalo and the lion, but I'm fairly confident that nothing's going to happen in the next minute or so. So we'll take this little window of opportunity to search for whatever it could be that these monkeys are alarm calling at. Now, the first step in doing this is trying to find the monkeys. Lot of impala here. Okay. I've heard the monkeys. They just ahead of us, so once we find them, we might have a little bit of luck, because we can try and watch where the monkeys are looking, and that will often direct us to where the threat may be, and the threat we are hoping this morning is a leopard. The tricky thing about the scenario we're faced with now is that it sounds like these monkeys are calling from within the Djuma camp environs, and we can't go driving through there. It's a lodge, So we'll just keep an eye out in this general area, but it's a difficult place for us to explore because there is a lot of infrastructure and not a lot of roads. Some more Franklin have just been chased up here. I'm not sure what it was, possibly the leopard, or whatever these monkeys are alarm calling at. They flew off just from our right. Also stopping now to try and listen to the monkeys, but they seem to have quietened down. Whatever it was that they were alarm calling at may have tried to sneak off as quickly as possible to attract as little attention as possible to itself. Okay. Well, good prospects that there is another predator in the area, and I'm glad that we were given that update from the people in final control, otherwise I wouldn't have been aware of those monkeys. Craig, no sign of anything. The monkeys appear to be in the actual camp, possibly looking at something down in the drainage that leads into the dam. I know the lion are still asleep and not actively seeking out the buffalo, so I'm just going to take a moment to have a look here. For the leopard, or whatever it is that these monkeys have been alarm calling at. Yeah, we're closer to these monkeys now. I can't see them, but I can hear them more clearly than I heard them before. So we are close to whatever it is that they are shouting at. And I'm feeling confident that we may find ourselves a leopard shortly. And would you believe that a leopard could be so close to this lion? It really is phenomenal how spoiled we do get out here. Two young males that were left in this area last night, quarantine in Djuma. So we are going to have a look for them. Texan. Texan for Scots. I'm just hoping to get a hold of Texan to make sure that none of his guests had decided to sleep in this morning, as they could well have, and we don't want to interfere with their morning snooze. And we are going to be looking around very close to the Vuyatela rooms. His guests are staying. The fact that the monkeys are still alarm calling is a good sign for us. You may, as we get closer now, and hopefully we'll also be able to see, oh, there they are. I've just seen it for the first time now. You see it up there, Andrew? And now what we're going to do is we're going to stop and watch where they are looking in order to get an idea of hopefully where we might be able to find these leopard. So there you can see the vervet monkey, and it's from this high vantage point that they are so useful in helping us to find animals like leopard. Let's not waste any time. It's very thick here, which makes obviously spotting an animal like a leopard a bit difficult, but at least we are certainly giving ourselves a decent chance by coming out here and exploring. Leopard. Just to reiterate, trust me, I wouldn't leave the lion if I thought they were going to try and attack the buffalo, and there is somebody still in that position keeping an eye on the lion, and they are still not doing anything, so we're not missing out on anything. Where is this leopard? I think I've just found its tracks here. Yeah, so it walked down this riverbed towards us. I've just found its tracks, but where has it decided to hide now? That is the next question we ask. Thankfully, it's not the first time I would have been looking for a leopard in this exact area, so I know a few little shortcuts where we can explore. I just want to make sure that it's not actually in this big dark jackalberry tree that we are busy driving under, as it is a perfect place for leopard to sleep as well as keep their kills if they manage to make any. Leopard is very close to us, folks, so just bear with me for a moment as we try and look for it. So I'm trying to keep an eye on where the monkeys are still alarm calling. I'm fairly certain they can still see it. And the fact that we saw some very fresh tracks in the riverbed that we were just driving in makes me confident that it is right here. But as you can see, it's quite thick, which makes it tricky for us to spot the animal, if it is lying down, of course. Who knows, maybe it's not just one leopard we're looking for. Maybe Quarantine and Djuma, the two brothers, are still together as they were last night. How wonderful is it that we are responding to an update given from the rest of our team in the final control room, and it was them that heard these monkeys alarm calling initially and attracted our attention to it. And like I say, I'm confident we're going to get lucky. Just decided to loop around. There's a very thick area that I know is impenetrable with the vehicle. So just looped around in the direction that the leopard's tracks were heading in. It was heading downstream in the riverbed towards this dam. And I think we're going to get lucky in the next couple of minutes. So don't go anywhere, because there is a leopard very, very nearby. It's just a matter of finding it now. In this very tree where I'm looking up into now, that Djuma, a baboon kill very long ago. There's no sign of the baboon here now. Oh, but while we stop and look, try and get this little bird on the ground here. It's well done, Andrew, and he managed to sneak in just in time to show you an African hoopoe flying off. They're really pretty birds. And I was just going to use that opportunity to stop and listen to the bush for a while, because it is so often... Oh, you've got it again there. Sorry, Andrew. I'm busy looking around. I didn't even realize that Andrew had the hoopoe in the monitor.
Yeah, this is a different one.
Okay, is that a different one now?
Yeah.
And it's got its crest folded up now, but when it... Often as it lands, it will flare that crest open. There we go. And it's looking for small insects. They typically feed on the ground, but will also feed on dead branches like this, trying to extract little insects. I'm just stopping now to try and listen to the bush and hopefully get directed closer to wherever these leopard may be. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not a leopard, but the fact that there was leopard tracks as well as the monkey's alarm calling so persistently, I'm almost certain there's a leopard here somewhere. just want to try and squeeze through this little gap here. It's going to require a bit of forwards and backwards to get the right angle. There's some thorn trees and other small trees that I don't want to drive over. I should get up through. Got a little natural archway here to deal with. Thanks, Andrew. Just got a question through from Lee in Arkansas. Good morning, Lee, and welcome. Lee's interested to know, how do siblings, which are leopards, remember themselves? Remember other siblings when they meet up after having not seen one another for some time? It's a good question. I'm guessing sight is a major factor. They probably look at all humans and think we're all exactly the same, and it requires us to look very closely at them to be able to differentiate them. But us as humans looking at other humans can clearly tell major differences between one another. So that's probably one of the main features that they'll use, is just simply by looking at another leopard. They'll know whether it's their brother or sister. They've grown up with them for many years, and by sight, but a combination of smell as well. And the reactions that they're going to perform when they do see one another after having not seen one another for a long time will always vary and depend on the individual leopards at hand. So there's no one answer that can be given to that question of yours, Lee. But it certainly will be nice to witness these two brothers together over the coming months and see how their relationship does change, as it naturally will as they become older and more competitive for territory. They'll become less and less tolerant of one another. Try and have one last look around, because I'm fairly certain this leopard is very close by. There are just lots of hiding places which make it difficult for us to see them. that the leopard has evaded us for now. It could pop out at any stage, and if not this morning, again, good prospects for this afternoon's drive. We'll have one last look as we make our way out of this area and back towards the lion. Looks like there are some buffalo that are getting quite close to where we left the lion, and if they get close enough, it may induce the lion to take a shot at them. Still scanning, hoping to see this leopard that must be here somewhere, but it's time to give up on the leopard for now and rather head back towards these lion, who may well provide us with some hunting action. There are some buffalo very nearby to them at the moment, so I'm not going to waste any time in getting there. As a lot of the mysteries we going up on their alarm calls. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of buffalo still in the waterhole. There's also a few buffalo over here on our left. These ones have already been in the waterhole. This one's been wallowing in the mud. And the lion were very nearby to them. We are going to continue though. I just want to get a view of the lion and establish what exactly they are doing. Hey, that one was interested in giving us a little bit of a chase. And it could be that it can smell the lion, and that's why it's being a little bit aggressive towards us. But it certainly was giving us the once over there. Oh, the lazy lion are still in the same place. Being too proactive, and interestingly enough, I've just seen a buffalo straight in front of the vehicle. You'll be able to see a dark grey mass as Andrew zooms in. There you go, you can see its tail wagging. So there's the buffalo, and the lion are right over here. It's very nearby, but even still, they are not interested in making an attack. Now that could be because of a number of reasons. They lack the cover of darkness, which is such a useful aid to them when hunting. They'd be able to startle and ambush the buffalo, and a lot easier when it's dark than when it's daytime. And that, coupled with the fact that they're already full-bellied with what we believe is some buffalo meat from a previous kill that they've made. So they're not wanting to take any chances this morning. And even though they'll keep looking in that direction, they'll always be inquisitive, but if they haven't made an advance at this stage, it's unlikely that they'll make one at all this morning. They're obviously not willing to take the risk of a buffalo hunt this morning. We've just got a question through from Colin in Johannesburg. Good morning, Colin, and welcome. Colin's interested to know whether the buffalo have smelt or seen the lion yet. And I certainly think they have smelt the lion. The wind is blowing from the lion, where we are now, towards the buffalo at the dam. And I think that is why the buffalo a little bit earlier kind of approached our vehicle in an aggressive fashion, as it would approach a lion. If it knew it was there, the buffalo will approach and chase lion when they know they're around. And that buffalo certainly did give us that treatment. So it could be that it smelt the lion from where they were at the dam. There's a strong chance that that would have happened. Or the other thing that could have happened, Colin, is as we drove past, we may have driven over some lion droppings earlier as we were watching them, or got the scent of lion on the tires of the vehicle, and the buffalo could have smelt that as we drove past. So one of two variables, but they certainly know that these lion are around. And for buffalo, it's not an uncommon scenario to be in. They will spend a lot of their life within the general surroundings of lion, one another, lion and buffalo, because lion will actively hunt buffalo, and it takes many attempts and many hours of following buffalo before the lion get lucky enough to take them down. No, I'm wondering if we're going to be able to get a decent view of these lion. They're all lying in the shade of a quarry thickets, which is going to make for difficult views. Go ahead. A negative. Okay, copy. Thank you very much. Which direction are they heading in? Buffalo, but we didn't have any luck this morning, but may have some luck this afternoon. They're only going to get more hungry, and as soon as it gets dark this evening, we can expect some different behavior from them. So certainly worth tuning in this afternoon and seeing what does unfold with these lion and the buffalo. For For now, though, I think it's fairly safe to say that the buffalo have got nothing to worry about. So, because the lion are asleep and the chance of them taking down a buffalo appears to be zero, so we don't have much time left, but we're going to try and show you as much as we can in the remaining few minutes. And I think our best option is, like I said, to head back, have one last look for whatever it was that these monkeys were alarm calling at. Thereafter, hopefully track down some elephants. If we don't have any luck, I just got a radio call saying that there were some elephants in this general area. As you can see, the buffalo have got nothing to worry about. And they're very relaxed here. It's interesting to see how the water levels are dropping quite considerably. That little patch of turf that they're lying on now used to be an island. Now it's a peninsula. So the dam levels are dropping. You'll also notice a very interesting bird in the background behind the buffalo that's busy hunting. And that is a saddle-billed stork. Absolutely beautiful species of stork, one of my favorites. And we've been really fortunate with some great viewing of them in the last few weeks. There's a pair of them. This is the male. You'll notice it has small yellow wattles dangling from the base of its red beak, whereas the female will lack those wattles and will have yellow eyes, whereas the male has got the yellow wattles and black eyes. And it's looking for small aquatic life like crabs and frogs, even fish they'll feed on. Just using my binoculars to scan the vegetation in the area where we feel that the leopard was hiding a little bit earlier, but haven't had any luck seeing it. But we'll continue. Let's see if we can't get a glimpse of these elephants before the end of the show. What a morning it's been, starting off with the Nkuhuma Pride of Lion, literally right on our doorstep. Was a very warm welcome back for myself. It's great to start off after being out of the saddle for a few days with some great content. This morning the animals have really been playing their parts, which we should all be grateful for, because it's been a non-stop animal action morning. We've hardly had a moment where we haven't had something interesting in the screen. But the highlight for me has certainly been watching that African harrier hawk going about its business, trying to excavate whatever it was hiding in that cavity. That was a first for me to share with all of you. And we even managed to sneak into the hyena den site for a short while, which was great. It's an incredible opportunity for us to view these animals, because hyena typically don't allow us to follow them or view them very well or for very long periods of time unless it is at their den site. So we are really grateful that we have got an active den site on the property at the moment. Mark, come in. Mark, I'm just turning onto the 2-track now, just to let you know. A negative from the dam. Copy, thanks. Heating up when the sun does poke out behind the clouds. So I consider us fortunate to have had a nice cool morning. Well, we're in luck, and the report from Mark, who's headed out to try and help us find some animals, has been a good one. And there are some elephants just ahead of us, so it's a little bit thick, and I'm going to just make sure we don't interfere. Got a better idea of how exactly they're feeling this morning. There's a small opening, and you can just see her ivory dangling below this tree. And is she going to give us a bit of attitude? She's certainly thinking about it. That's exactly it, but I'm sure if we just stay here and mind our own business, she'll resume with her morning without getting too flustered by us. Again, maybe she can smell the lions that we've been driving in and around, and maybe that's why her behavior is a little bit suspicious of us. You see how she keeps picking up her trunk and smelling, and that's why I think that it could be that she smells those lion, and it's incredible how good their senses of smell are, these animals. They really do make us feel quite hopeless with regards to our senses, as theirs are just far, far better than ours. Now, there's a young bull that's just going to pop out in front of us here, and I think he may give us a bit of attitude, so I'm going to ask Andrew to stick with him just for a moment or two. As it's about to cross the road, and I think when it does cross the road, we are going to get a little bit of adolescent attitude. Nope. Oh, there we go. A little bit. And some tiny babies running off in the background. Awesome. Well then, Andrew, it looks like that one in front there actually was in the unfortunate situation where its mother may have pooped on its head, because there was a big stain running down its forehead that looked like that of what could only be elephant dung. So it got about a 2 or 3 kg bolus of its mother's poop on its head, but that I guess happens from time to time if you are a baby elephant spending a lot of time in and around the ankles of your mother. Here comes another youngster crossing the road. This one might give us some attitude. No, just a bit nervous to have been left behind. Well, this is absolutely wonderful. Thanks very much, Mark. And I'm just trying to think what our best option will be now to try and get you some views of the little youngsters. It's tricky because it is so thick in here. What to do? I do fear that that view was as good as it's going to get of the youngsters this time, and I don't want to chase them and cause any unnecessary stress to the herd, and also indirectly with us, because once the herd gets stressed, then they will take their stress out on us, and then we too will become stressed. So we are going to avoid all stress this morning. We close out this morning's drive. And like I said earlier and throughout the drive, I guess, great prospects for this afternoon. The Djuma Pride of Lion are buffalo there, so anything could happen with them this afternoon. And also potentially a leopard in and around the camp, also close to the lions, so that's something to look forward to. Here's some elephant. The hyena den site was active. It's been an absolutely wonderful morning. So like I say, it could well continue with that streak. Oh, there's another youngster that Andrew spotted. That could be the unlucky one that got pooped on. just a minute left, folks, and I'd like to say a very, very, very big thank you from myself, as well as Andrew, and to Tara and Nikki in the final control room. It's been a great morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for sending all of your questions through. Sorry if we didn't get to answer all of them, but there's been so much action that the animals have been doing a lot of the speaking. So we'll see you next time.